Hey, I can't believe that I haven't covered this in a video tutorial for you yet, combining textures and images in Photoshop. It's very easy to do, at least the way that I do it. If I can do it, you can definitely do it. So I'm going to show you how to do this in Photoshop. We're just going to run through one or two images really quick, one or two different techniques. Now I'm going to use Photoshop for this, but if you don't have Photoshop or you don't want to pay for it, or you want to use one of the free programs out there, you can basically do the same thing using maybe slightly different tools and techniques that the software that you use offers. I'll go ahead and put some links to alternatives to Photoshop down in the description below, so you can go ahead and check those out. So with that said, let's go ahead and get started. It's pretty easy to find textures on the internet if that's what you're looking for. You just go do a quick search, do a quick Google for textures, and you can see that there are tons of them here. Some of them may be more useful than others, and some of them might not be free to use. They might not be public domain, so you'll have to just make sure that what you decide to use is something that you have permission to use. There are a lot of free ones out there. Some of these are really nice. I like these. You can definitely find them in color, and black and white versions are also available. Now we're going to use this picture of Ruth and open that up in Photoshop. And I've already collected a couple of backgrounds from a background product that I have. I'll just show you that real quick. That would be this one right here, Digital Backgrounds and Compositing Techniques. This is a pretty good product. You should go ahead and check this out. And I've got a lot of really in-depth instruction here on how to actually replace backgrounds. I've also got lots of these bonus backgrounds and textures that you're free to use when you order the product. So yeah, go ahead and check that out if you want to learn more about masking and layering and things like that. But as far as just laying down some easy textures for some really good effects, you're going to learn a lot from this video. Let's go ahead and start with this texture, this what I call base 18. It's one of the base textures from that backgrounds and compositing product. So we'll go ahead and place this as a smart object. You can see that it's covered the entire image, and that's not helpful. But there are these different blending modes here, so I'm just going to go ahead and press the down arrow and scroll through the different modes so you can see what each of them does. Some of them are pretty good just right off the bat if you like that look. Overlay is always a winner. That might be one to just start off with at any point in time. If you don't know what else to do, just throw an overlay blending mode on your texture and see what happens. Soft light is also pretty good. Yeah, that looks pretty cool too. But we're going to go with linear burn, and I'm going to just bring that opacity down just a little. Find something that we like. Let's say right around here. Okay, so this is 77% opacity. Blending mode is linear burn, and you see where we've got that texture on the model herself. Now that actually looks really cool. You might even just want to leave it like that, or you might want to make some adjustments. I'm going to go ahead and actually mask that out. So we're going to use black and white and a brush. I'm going to bring the size of that brush up by pressing the right bracket key. And we can just go ahead and use a large size for this. And I'm going to go real rough here for this demo. And we can leave some of this texture because of what I'm going to do in a minute. I'm going to throw in that other texture on top of this, so we can leave some of that in on the edges and not really get real precise there. There's no reason to do that. Okay, it looks pretty cool just the way it is, but now I'm going to go ahead and throw in this one. Lay that right on top of there. And we're just going to flip through these blending modes. And remember how I said that overlay was pretty much a go-to blending mode to work with? We're going to use overlay for this one, just like that. And we have a really cool look to this at this point, but I'm going to bring the opacity down on this one also. It's around 50%. say 45%. Looks good. All right, so we have a really cool look here. It's a little more subtle, but you still have some interesting texture there. Now the texture is actually being thrown on top of the previous texture, but instead of masking that out, I mean, we could mask it out. We could just say, okay, well, do the reverse of what we did over here. Just for example's sake, we're just going to go ahead and do that. And I'm just going to mask that texture out over here to show you what that looks like. All right, so now you've got really two distinct textures here, but I really like the way that they combined earlier, so I'm going to go ahead and remove that mask right now. So now they're kind of bleeding into each other over here on this, on the outer edges. Now, if you ask me, that looks amazing, just the way it is. I like it just the way it is, but I had already planned on throwing a border around this. I have two to choose from here. I have this little one. I'm just going to try the thinner one and see what it looks like. And again, go straight to overlay because overlay is cool. Now, that looks pretty interesting. I like the way that looks. And if we play with the opacity a little bit, we get different looks. And you might like the way that looks too. Let's just throw a little bit of a... Let's give it a little blur. Now we're doing this as a smart object, so we'll be able to just adjust it as we like. Give it a little more, keep going with it. So yeah. Right there, that looks pretty cool. All right, just for the sake of seeing what the other one looks like, maybe you'd like something a little more dramatic like this one. Just bring that and just pull it down. For size, same thing, go over here, overlay. That looks really awesome. It's a little lighter over here on this side, and that's just how it's going to be. I guess if you play around with it, you can darken this up a little more, but it's probably going to be that way just because of the underlying tones here. What we could do is, if we wanted to darken that in a little bit, just throw another layer underneath, give it some tones right here, and then bring those down a little bit. So now we can kind of match that up. Now I realize in order to do something as fast as I did it for this demonstration, you've got to be somewhat familiar with layers and with masking, and that stuff's not that hard to learn. Usually you have your image layer on the bottom and you throw other visual elements above that, and those are the layers. And masks like we have here are ways to reveal and hide certain elements in the layer stack. The rest of it's just adding effects, having fun experimenting. This is one of the best ways to learn to use Photoshop or an image editor that works a lot like Photoshop. I definitely recommend that you download some of these free textures and start messing around with them. Learn to use layers and masks and blending modes and opacity. So you've watched this tutorial, watch a few other tutorials, and this will all start making sense to you as you continue to practice. So there you go, all that stuff's pretty simple to do, and like I said, if I can do it, you can definitely do it. Hey, I want to thank you for hanging out with me today. If you like this video, go ahead and click that like button. If you haven't already, go ahead and click subscribe so you don't miss any of the other videos that come up. Definitely leave me a comment. I'm going to thank you in advance for doing that. That's it for today. See you next time.